Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar from True North Dynamics. My name's John Hoyt. I'm the Solution Architect for ERP Systems here at True North, and I'll be delivering the webinar today. Our focus is going to be looking at the Business Central relationship management capabilities. Often overlooked in projects, but a pretty powerful tool that is included with basic Business Central licensing. I want to make sure we give a thorough understanding today of what its capabilities are and what its role might be for your organization or company. We're going to go through a variety of topics in the course of our webinar today. We're going to start by talking about the contact records inside of Business Central. We use those contacts, of course, both for keeping up relationships with our customers and with our vendor base. And the relationship management tool can be applied to both of those functions or just one side if that's your preference. At the heart of the relationship management capability in Business Central is the concept of an interaction. This is where we're going to be recording our activities or our interactions with either a vendor contact or a customer contact. That might be something as simple as recording that there's been a phone call or there's been an email that's been exchanged. From the interactions, we can then move on to focus on more of the sales side of the relationship management tool, where we're going to explore the opportunities that can be created, managed, and tracked inside the Business Central system. Ideally, those opportunities will, of course, be converted into sales orders and eventually invoices, and will generate revenue through those. That process can start as early as simply creating a sales quote. Quotes don't often get used, but they make great sense as the starting point when we talk about the relationship management tool. And then finally, from the overall perspective of managing the sales process, we can create specific marketing campaigns inside the relationship management tool. And from there, we can track our costs, our revenue, various activities, create special prices and special discounts that would apply during the length of the campaign. And again, track our results, see how we did from an analytical perspective. That covers our agenda for the day. Let me go ahead and bring up Business Central, and we'll go ahead and dive right into this. I'm currently logged into my sample company, the Cronus USA Inc. I am logged into a specific role that's created as the sales and marketing manager, sales and relationship manager. That's going to give me access to all the components we're going to be talking about today. These are also, of course, accessible through a variety of other roles. You don't have to necessarily be in the sales and relationship manager role. It just makes sense for the purposes of our demo today. Let's start by taking a look at the contacts. Click on the contact link, pull up my list of contacts. And the first thing I want to call everybody's attention to here is when you look in both the number and the name column, you're going to see records that are in bold and black, and records that are in just standard typeface. This is a visual cue for the user. Anything that's in bold and black is a reference to a contact record within a vendor master or within a customer master. The contact records that are in just standard typeface are the people themselves. This is an important concept for everybody to understand when we talk about relationship management in Business Central. There is a soft association made between the human contact themselves, and we'll be working with Ian here. He works for a company called Alpine Ski House. So he is the contact person on the customer master record. But there's a separate record that deals just with Ian himself. We'll drill back and take a look at that. Not a great deal of information gets centered here or stored here at the contact record card. I've got a little bit of information about his name, address that I can use for him. I can find details like his telephone and his address and everything. What's really important, though, and where relationship management starts to really offer some advantages over tools you might currently be using to track your relationships with your various suppliers and customers, this is a tool that's intended to allow for cooperation inside of your organization. Instead of having a folder in my Outlook that just contains all of my correspondence back and forth with Ian, or maybe I've got a separate Excel spreadsheet somewhere that I keep track of all of my activities and so forth. That's very useful at the individual level, but for the organization, that means critical information is being hidden from other employees. And if I was out for vacation or out on sick leave, whatever, and Ian calls, somebody else picks up the phone, they don't have access to my knowledge, my relationship, my activities going back through time with Ian. By putting all of that into the relationship management tool and adding that to the contact records, that information is now shared, and I can collaborate with my colleagues. We can work together. In my absence, they don't have lack of information about what I might have done previously. And you can see that down across the bottom of the contact record here, where we have a history function. And that history function is the visibility that gets provided to everybody else with access to this record, so they can see over time what has been occurring as we've tried to build out and develop our business relationship. In this case, with Ian as the person, but with Alpine Ski House as the company that he's currently associated with. I will come back to this contact record in just a moment, but I do want to just spend a second in the customer record itself. When I look at Alpine Ski House and their record, their card, the only real information that I have here is going to be who is my contact. I don't get other information. So it took me into their contact record. Back out just a second. Let's go look at the customer for Alpine Ski House real quickly. So here at the customer record level, all I'm going to be showing is who is my contact person. I've got the other information about that. If I scroll down into the address and contact area, I can see that Ian is my contact at Alpine Ski House, but all the details about Ian would rely by drilling back into his contact record, back into that same record we were just looking at. And I mentioned at the beginning here that this is a soft association. Over time, Ian may choose to leave Alpine Ski House and go work for one of their competitors. And we may be fortunate enough that the new company Ian has migrated to is also one of our clients. We do business with his new company as well. And that's really helpful because the information I've associated with Ian will remain with Ian. It's not buried solely inside the customer record or, again, in those external systems or something. So as people move from one company to another, I can change the association. Who is my primary contact now at Alpine Ski House? Now that Ian has left, it's going to be a different individual. But because of that soft association, I don't lose visibility into any of their history or any of their activities. I'm going to back out of that customer card. We'll go back into the contacts real quick, and we'll drill back into Ian and talk about that for just a second. Now, initially, my focus here has been on Ian as the contact for a customer. Keep in mind, Ian could just as easily be a contact at one of my suppliers, at one of my vendors. And I want to keep track of the same kind of information. What interactions have we had over time? Working on putting together a deal of some kind, and what's the status of that activity? So while it's normal to think about CRM as customer relationship management, it really should be equally thought of as vendor relationship management. As I said, you can use both capabilities or pick just one side of the equation and work with that going forward. So in the normal course of my day, as I'm processing, let's say, sales orders and preparing quotes for people, if I get a phone call unexpectedly from Ian, best practice is for me to pull up quickly his contact record. And while I'm on the phone with him, I can start the process of creating an interaction with him. And an interaction is just a form or a template that I'm going to use to capture specific pieces of information about the phone call that I'm having with Ian at the moment. So I go in and I can find a variety of different activities. In this case, maybe what I have is an incoming phone call. It could equally be an outgoing phone call that I initiated, or I'm responding to an email. We met at an event. As with most of these lists in Business Central, you have the ability to create a new type of interaction if necessary. Nothing in the existing list really fits or describes properly what it is that you're working on. Fine, go ahead and pull a new one. Of course, we can always select from the full list instead of scrolling through. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and select that it was an incoming phone call. I get that description for it. I can now start to record some more details about this. Who was the salesperson on this account? Is there a specific language that was used? Date and time will get filled in automatically as of the creation of this record, but I could very easily use this to post-date a conversation I had with Ian last evening at a social event. I just want to keep track of the dates and times as we start to build that history going forward. Any correspondence that might have been exchanged, emails or text messages or something, that could be included as well. And some basic information to allow management to view my activities. Was it an inbound or outbound flow? Who initiated this call, etc. I'll continue on with the interaction. Click Next. When I click Next one more time, I will be completing this interaction and it will get logged into the history for that contact. I see references here in front of me to campaigns, and we're going to come back to campaigns at the end of the webinar and talk about them in detail. But it is possible in the relationship management tool of Business Central to create an outbound marketing campaign. For this period of time, I'm going to focus on this group of customers in an effort to get them to do more business with my company. Buy more product, buy more services, whatever it might be. And as part of that campaign, I can offer incentives and then measure the results. How did we do? So the interaction that I'm creating right now with Ian, maybe he was calling in response to one of our campaigns. I can simply click yes, that was one of the campaigns. He's responded to it. And then I could go through and maybe pick this open opportunity. We'll come to the opportunities in just a moment. They represent a real significant business opportunity. Or is there a campaign that this was associated with? We're simply trying to increase our sales for this quarter. Go ahead and click Next, and we'll move on with this interaction record. What was the result? We had an incoming phone call. As a result of that, how would I rate my conversation with Ian today? He was very positive about the information. We sent him on the campaign. He wants to learn more about that. So I'll mark that as a very positive interaction. I do think it was successful. There weren't any costs directly associated with this, but if I had maybe some costs from that social engagement last night, then I could record those. Anything that gets recorded here will show up in the campaign's cost bucket, even if it was not a direct cost incurred. But again, it's going to give management an idea of what was the benefit running that particular campaign. Did our increased revenue outpace the costs that were associated with it? I'll go ahead and click Finish on the creation of this interaction. And you'll see that it gets added into my history list immediately. So now anybody else in the company that pulled up that contact record for Ian or looked at the contact record for the account he's associated with can now start to see that, oh, we've had a phone call. He's positive about the campaign that we're running, etc. In addition to the standard creation of an interaction, I have two other options from that drop-down menu. If you have licensed one of the telephony products that work with the Business Central system, integrates so I can do inbound and outbound phone calls directly from Business Central, then I could simply say I need to make a phone call to Ian. When I do that, it will dial him based on the phone number I have associated with him and start to create the interaction record of an outbound phone call. The same thing is true with the email capability. We are, of course, tightly integrated with the rest of the Office suite. That includes Microsoft Outlook. So I could simply say what I'm going to do now is create an outbound email, send that off to Ian, just as a standard communication, whatever might be involved with that. One step up from the interactions, when I have a defined sales opportunity, I'm going to create that opportunity record. In the course of my phone call with Ian, he was interested in buying some new machines of some kind, whatever it might be that we sell or service here. So I'm going to create that new opportunity simply to record that I've got some potential. There may be something that I can go through here and we're going to be able to generate some additional revenue from this. Select salesperson. Sales cycle is new. Now, when we have opportunities created, we can set different stages of the life cycle of the opportunity. So in this case, I'm going to create this new opportunity and we'll activate the first stage. This starts to expand out visibility to maybe my sales manager or colleagues elsewhere on the sales team, and this idea of a collaborative tool rather than a personal tool. I maybe need to create a sales quote for this activity because Ian's very positive about the campaign information that we've sent out. And the first thing he's asking for is, hey, can you send me a new quote for an item? Let's say he wants to buy a couple of desks from us. So we'll sell him 2 desks. They're about $1,000 each. I need to release this. I could, of course, now also send this out to Ian by email so that he gets that. Again, these activities are going to be recorded inside the relationship management tool. Visibility for other people. I don't have an email address set up for Ian, so I won't go ahead and send that to him, but let's consider that it has been sent out. So that's now adding in that new opportunity. I've indicated that it's the result of a campaign to increase sales for the quarter. I've indicated the items that Ian is interested in purchasing, the quantity, and I've actually produced that sales quote, sent it out to him. My quote information coming back again. Now, a couple of days go by and I get information coming back from customer. Ian calls back and says, hey, we're really happy with that quote that you sent out to us. Why don't you go ahead and take that quote and let's convert it into a sales order. So I get a message back from Business Central. There is an open opportunity linked to this quote. The opportunity has to be closed before the quote can be converted. So in order to do that, do I want to close the opportunity now and continue the conversion? And yes, I do. We're ready to move forward. When I close my opportunity, I need to provide some information about this. The fact that I won this is very straightforward, very standard. But I might have other instances where I've lost the opportunity for some reason. And I want to collect the reasoning behind that loss. That'll give us the ability to do a post-mortem and look back at the marketing campaign and say, okay, we talked to a lot of people, we registered a lot of interest, and we didn't end up winning a lot of the business. What was the cause of those losses? Maybe we weren't offering a substantial enough discount, or we weren't offering enough information to represent the value that we think would be presented. If someone pursued that and actually converted the quotes into orders and invoices, etc. So a very useful way of gathering that type of managerial information to allow us to really determine how we're doing and is it worth repeating this at some point in the future. What was the closed code? Well, we had long pre-sales work that was very effective. We're going to close it out on my sample date. I'm now going to mark this opportunity as being closed out. My quote's been converted to a sales order. Do I want to open the sales order? Sure, let's take the sales order. Now, I probably should have noticed this back when I was creating the sales quote, but I now do get information from Business Central reminding me that this customer has an overdue balance. And maybe our business practices and policies would have me hold on fulfilling this sales order until I at least receive maybe a promise to pay. If not, the actual payment itself needs to come in from Alpine Ski House. In other cases, it may be fine to proceed. We know why there's an overdue balance, or we're working on a credit for something that they purchased previously, and that will get applied. That will resolve the overdue balance, whatever the circumstances might be. And just Business Central trying to be helpful and provide me, the user, with additional bits of information that they may not normally get. I'm going to back out of that sales order. We'll back out of the sales quotes that we got started from. I'll go back from the customer card as well. Now we're back to looking at our customers. Last thing that I wanted to talk about in the webinar today, before we open the floor up to questions, is the subject of campaigns. We've talked about them briefly, but let's dive a little deeper into what the campaigns actually represent. We've been working on this campaign 1001. Our goal to increase sales. As you can see, we have a defined date range, begin and end for that campaign. I'm going to drill back and look at the details of that. Not a lot of information about the campaign other than its name and its description. What are we trying to accomplish? What is the status of the campaign? You'll be able to create and design these statuses as they move through, initiated, scheduled, started, completed, etc. And trying to provide management with some tools so that they can correctly review and analyze where we are on a particular campaign. Start dates, end dates, a default salesperson code. If you leave this blank, then we'll use the salesperson code that's associated with the customer record. If not, then we can have all of this activity generated from the campaign be associated with whoever is the salesperson responsible for this particular campaign. For invoicing purposes, the only thing that we've added in here are our two global dimensions, not really relevant to this campaign. So I'm going to leave both of those blank, but you could use those for, again, further analytics. Maybe I've got a customer grouping code that I'm targeting in this specific campaign. It would separate it out from the rest of my customer base, something of that nature. The real key to creating a campaign, though, lies in the prices and discounts tab. This is where, for a specific campaign, for the duration of that campaign, I can specify either direct sales prices for my items. I could pick a particular item. We were looking at that Athens desk. And we're going to say that if you buy at least 5, then we're going to give you a substantial discount. We'll use the starting and ending dates either defined here at the item level. If not, then we'll simply use those that were defined at the campaign record. I could come through again and say I've got another. Apologies. We'll go further with that example then. It doesn't like the item number that I've selected. But to finish the thought, as I create the items that will be part of the campaign, I can have varying quantities. If you buy up to 5 units, you can get 1 discount. If you buy up to 10 units, you get a better discount. If you buy more than 11, you get an additional discount above and beyond that. When I create these sale prices, these prices will override any other custom pricing or price schedules that I have created and associated with the customer. If I wanted to create a campaign that can leverage my existing relationship with the customers, what I would probably do instead is something to say, I want to create specific sales line discounts. These can then start to become layered on top of whatever other discounts I've associated with a customer. So my customer Alpine Ski House may be set to get a standard 10% discount on everything they buy whenever they buy it. That's just my relationship with Alpine Ski House. During the length of this specific marketing campaign, I can specify that that customer is going to get an additional 10% discount, not on everything they buy, only on the range of products that I'm targeting within my campaign. So now I can start to layer discounts one on top of the other. I can also create these for specific customers or groups, do it for every customer, individual customer, range of customers. A lot of flexibility here in determining who is going to receive the additional discounts that are going to be offered as part of this marketing campaign. And then finally, I would need to, after I've created my sales price and my sales line discount setups, I would need to go through and activate those. Once I click on activate, in any future sales quotes, whether they are entered directly into the system or if they're entered in as a result of an opportunity that has been created, they will get the advantages of whatever discounts or sale prices they're eligible for. I can also temporarily deactivate those sales price lines discounts. Maybe I need to make a change. During the course of the campaign, we realize we're not getting the results we want. We want to bump the discount from 10% to 12.5%. I have to deactivate the current line discounts first, make my change, and then come back and reactivate them with the new discounts. At the end date of my discount period for this campaign, all of the line discounts and sale prices that are described here at the campaign level will revert back to whatever was the standard model prior to this campaign being activated. I don't have to remember to go back to those customers or to their item pricing and manually change them back from the campaign rate to the standard rate. That happens automatically just by hitting the end date of that particular campaign. Now, I've been focusing so far looking solely at the sales side of this. I've mentioned that you can also do something similar on the purchasing side. So, selling counts, John. If I go in and take a look at my open purchase orders, for example, I could look at purchase quotes, I could look even purchase invoices just as well. And I'm going to pull up the last purchase order that I have here in the system. There's a campaign reference that I can include directly. Find that. From this window. My apologies. I'm expecting to be able to find a campaign here, and it was here previously. This allows me to tie in the purchasing activity as being related to a specific marketing campaign. And then I would maybe go back to my normal purchasing history at some point later, whatever might be appropriate as far as that goes. Same thing's true on the sales orders and sales quotes. I can nominate as I'm creating the sales order or the sales quote, which campaign does this tie back to? The end goal being that we want to produce reporting that allows me to look at the campaign and see the total results of that. So if I look inside my sales and marketing reports, in the marketing section, I have a campaign details report. I can specify which campaign I want to look at. I could restrict it if necessary to a specific salesperson and see their activities within the campaign. If I leave it blank, then it will grab all of the salespeople. Dates can be entered to restrict the campaign periods themselves and look within just 1 month out of the quarter, for example. If I leave them blank, then of course I'll use the start date and end date as it was defined when I created the campaign itself. And click on the preview of the report, zoom in on it a little bit here. It's just going to give me some basic information about the specific campaign that I'm looking at. You'll see that it's currently showing in the closed because the expiration date has already been passed. I would now see here details, which salespeople have been participating, how many lines have they created, what have been the costs associated with managing this campaign. During the setup of the interaction, you saw that I had a place to record the cost. What did it cost me to do that? Those costs start to show up here. And I'm going to see that and have the ability then to analyze my campaign and determine whether it was something that I want to repeat, something I want to drop and not do again, or maybe I want to make some kind of modifications to it so that it will be more effective, more impactful in the future. So going back to the agenda, let's kind of run through this real quick. We've talked about contacts at both the customer and at the vendor level. We've discussed the interactions and how you can create either a new interaction to reflect that activity, outbound phone call, receiving an email from someone, a visit at a trade show or at a convention, or just a social event, whatever it might be. If you have telephony capabilities within your Business Central system, you can initiate that outbound phone call directly from BC and work with your contact, create that new opportunity, create that new sales quote, etc. Email the same way. That's their preferred communication method. We can send emails back and forth and have them tied to the campaign. And all of that gets saved in the history of the contact so that my colleagues can see and we can collaborate on that activity. We can describe opportunities. We know based upon an interaction with one of our contacts that they're interested in pursuing a new sales quote for these items, for these dollar amounts. I complete that negotiation on the opportunity, convert it to a quote, close out the opportunity, and then I can process the sales order. The customer has given me the green light to move forward. And finally, we've talked a little bit about the marketing campaigns that are built into the relationship management tool. It gives me the ability to define the start and the end date, who I'm targeting as part of this campaign, and create special prices or special discounts and have those applied automatically to any activity that gets associated with the campaign within the defined date range between the start date and the end date. That takes me through everything that I have prepared for our webinar today. I'm happy to open the floor to any questions. We can either talk about something that went too quickly or something I didn't get a chance to speak to at all. Do we have anything that we need to address?
We have no questions in the Q&A.
Okay. I'm more than happy to wait around a couple minutes and give people a chance to think of anything, and they can drop those in the Q&A. If you would prefer, I have my email address here on the bottom of the slide. I'm more than happy to take calls or emails, set up meetings with people if we want to discuss this further. If you have a particular use case within your company or your organization that you want to run through, just reach out. And I would be happy to schedule a call and a follow-up with you individually, or just a basic question if I can answer that. Applies to anything outside of relationship management as well, just general questions about your use of the Business Central tool. You're looking to expand its functionality, get some more benefit out of the program. That's what I'm here to help with.
And one actually came in just now. So here we go. How would this handle a customer, in quotes, that we wouldn't really sell to, but is a decision maker? Someone like an architect or anyone who would really never see a quote from us. We would still need to track these interactions.
That's a really good question. Thank you for that. My first thought would be, and we'll use your example of an architectural firm or an engineering firm that's associated with one of my clients and would be involved in the decision making, but not necessarily the benefit from the end results of all of that. My first thought would be to go ahead and create a customer record for the architectural firm or the engineering firm and set them up as a child of your actual client. Find the architect's information, create them as a contact, associate them with the architectural customer. And now I can create and manage those interactions and emails, take phone calls, whatever it might be, and have that saved as part of the contact record, and then rely on the parent-child relationship to, it wouldn't automatically provide visibility necessarily, but at least gives me a quick place to go find the related information. As I'm moving forward trying to close the deal with my actual customer, I can reference back to the interactions that I've had with the architect or with the engineer. Again, because they're linked through that parent-child relationship between the customers, we have a pretty easy job of finding that information. A great question, though. I'd love to explore that deeper if they'd like to send me an email, we can schedule a call and really get specific about that.
Thank you, John. We have no more questions, but also if you guys are interested in how to set up relationship management within Business Central, of course, you're always welcome to reach out to John or our support team for questions here and there. We also have a day-long bootcamp package available that teaches you how to implement and use the relationship management tools and modules inside of Business Central. So feel free to reach out to your client success manager for more information, and I will go ahead and put their email in the chat for you as well.
Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate that. If there aren't any other questions, then I will kindly thank you all for your time and your attention. I hope this has been beneficial to you. Again, if you have any questions about this subject, other subjects in Business Central, or maybe you want to suggest a topic for a future webinar, please feel free to send me a quick email and I will look into that for you. Thank you very much, everyone. Appreciate your time.